Good deal. Well, good evening, and welcome to the third in a series of political debates sponsored by the News Journal and Stetson University. I'm Pat Rice, editor of the News Journal, and I'll be your moderator tonight. And I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. We've got an exciting debate planned for you tonight between candidates for Volusia County Chair. In a moment, I'll introduce the candidates and the debate will begin. First, just a couple of announcements. First, I want to thank Stetson University for generously allowing us to use the Stetson room for this debate, and also for providing refreshments. The other debates, if you attended them, all we had was lukewarm water, so we did a lot better tonight. I want to, in particular, thank Associate Professors David Hill and Associate Professor Hall, who, because I'm a little nervous, whose first name I've now forgotten, for all of their help on this. Thank you very much. And also thank Cindy Brownfield for your help in setting all of this up. Let's give them a hand. Just a couple ground rules for the audience. The first one is, if you have a cell phone, please turn it off. That way we won't have an AC/DC ringtone come off right in the middle of a prescient answer to the question. All right. Now in a minute, I'll introduce the candidates, and when I do, I encourage you to applaud each of them. And at the end of the debate, each candidate will have a couple minutes for closing remarks, and I hope you'll applaud them then too. But in between their introductions and their closing remarks, please stay quiet. No clapping, no booing. Please just be good, attentive listeners. It's up to the candidates to convince you that they're worthy of your support, so they just don't need help from the audience while they're doing that. Finally, if you need to get up during the debate for any reason, please do so. If you can, try to do so as quietly as possible. Okay, let's get started with the introductions. The county chair candidates include, in alphabetical order, Jason Davis. Jason won a Bronze Star for Valor during the First War with Iraq. Jason is also a radio commentator, on-air personality for a New Smyrna Beach radio station, and he is a lifelong Florida resident. Jason, welcome. Our next candidate is Ted Doran. Ted is an attorney with extensive legal experience, including work involving schools and other government entities. Ted is also former chairman of the Halifax Area Advertising Authority Board and a continuing member on that board. He is a former chair of the Greater Daytona Beach Chamber of Commerce, and he chaired the Team Volusia effort and helped to get it off the ground. Ted, welcome. And our final candidate is Carl Persis. Carl, until very recently, was a member of the Volusia County Council. He also is the former mayor of Ormond Beach. And until his retirement in 2011, I believe, did I get that right? Carl was also principal of Ormond Beach Middle School. Everybody, welcome Carl. All right, candidates, before we begin the debate, one final point. Our timekeeper tonight is News Journal political editor, Derek Catron. Derek, wave to the audience. All right. Okay, now when Derek holds up the yellow card, that means that you have 30 seconds to go. When he holds up the red card, that means that your time is up. So you need to bring your remarks to a close at that point, and of course, if you don't, then I will. All right, let's begin the first portion of the debate, and here's how it's going to go. I'll ask one of the candidates a question, and he will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer. Then each other candidate will have a minute to answer the same question. Then the candidate who initially received the question will have 1 minute for closing comments on that question. It all makes sense once we start doing it. We drew a name from a hat to determine who gets to be the first person to go, and the winner is Carl Persis. So Carl, here's the first question.
Go ahead. Let me just, can everybody hear me with this? I'm using it. Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Carl, what grade would you give Volusia County Manager Jim Deneen and the current Volusia County Council for their performance, and why?
Okay, since I was on the county council for 7 years, I was actually one of the council members that actually hired Mr. Deneen, because when I started in 2004, Cindy Cotto was the county manager. I would give Mr. Deneen's overall performance, I would give him an A-, and I think he's done an excellent job in these very difficult times. The council, of course, directs the county manager, and so the council is very adamant about reducing the budget, and it's hard to reduce your budget, whether it's your home budget or county government, but we told Mr. Deneen we have to reduce the budget, and he came forth and he did that. We have reduced the budget by millions and millions of dollars. We have reduced our workforce by over 500 employees, and so given that difficult challenge, I would think that I would have to give Mr. Deneen an A- because he's very responsive to how he reacts to what the council wants him to do.
Okay, thank you. Jason, same question to you.
Well, can everybody hear me? Okay, good, thank you. I'm at a disadvantage with my opponents here. I do not know Mr. Deneen. I cannot personally say that I even know him or grade him. As an overall outlook from what the citizens have told me here in our county, I'm going to give our county a B. We've got some debt going out, and everybody was very upset about some of the spending that was going on coming out of our county council. And everybody brought those issues to me, and I said, we will address these in the future as we go forward. But a definite solid B for our county council and Jim Deneen managing our county.
Thank you. Ted, same question.
Sure, thank you. Well, not knowing what the conversations are like behind closed doors between the county council and the county manager, it's very difficult for me to say. Based on the information I have from the outside looking in, Mr. Deneen does a great job and in the budgeting area, and I would give him overall a B. I am assuming in giving him that grade that he is carrying out the direction of his council. I disagree quite a bit with the policies that he is implementing, but he is not a policy maker. As far as the county council itself, it is difficult to grade the body as a whole because there are some council people who are very good and some who are not as good. Since it is relevant here to discuss who's going to be the next chair, I would give Carl Persis a D. That should come as no surprise because I wouldn't be running if I thought that he was going to take our county in the right direction and had the leadership skills to accomplish what we need to do.
Thank you. And Carl, you have a final minute on that question.
Well, it's obviously Ted is not an educator because he realized I'm much better than a D. I would be having an A+ probably. But clearly, the county council has been a very, very productive council. It's a council that doesn't have any bitterness. Yes, we disagree from time to time, but we get the work done, and we have reduced the budget, and I think that was the main charge for the last 3 or 4 years.
Thank you. We'll go to the next question, and it's to you, Jason. The Ocean Center Convention Facility currently is operating at a deficit of about $1.3 million a year. What would you do, if anything, to change how that facility operates?
Well, from day one, when we started the campaign, and I signed my name on the line to run for this office, my goal was to try to privatize the Ocean Center. It's like you said, it's a $1.3 million loss, and we are subsidizing it out of our tax dollars every single year. If we cannot make the Ocean Center operate in the green and make money and support us, that we don't need to keep it around, we don't need to be responsible for that debt. So I would like to turn around and offer that to, I don't know, any organization out there that may, let's say Donald Trump, he runs convention centers, he can come down here and take care of that for us.
All righty. Ted, same question to you.
Well, I would start first by talking about the Hob Board and then go to the Ocean Center. You know, as chairman of the Halifax Area Advertising Authority, I took over that organization because it was in shambles, and it had been, there had not been the proper oversight by the county council for decades. They had no written contracts, the CEO was not carrying out the mission of the organization, and there was a lot of insider benefits, let's just put it that way. All of that was under the watch of the existing county council, which includes Carl Persis. The Ocean Center is losing $1.3 million a year. I would privatize the day-to-day operations. I would take away the marketing and sales of the Ocean Center from the county. We'd remove them and put it in the hands of the CVB like every other county in the country. And I will make it profitable within 2 years. The Ocean Center will support you. You will no longer support the Ocean Center.
Thank you. Carl, same question to you.
Thank you. The Ocean Center is indeed a first-class facility for which everyone in Volusia County should be very proud. It is amazing what that Ocean Center looks like inside. It's just a fantastic facility. We get rave comments about it every time there is a convention there or a meeting, such as the one that's there right now with 2,700 people there filling up the Hilton 700 rooms for 4 nights. The Ocean Center was expanded, as we all know, an $80 million expansion. It is it is paid for by bed taxes. Those are taxes that people pay when they stay in our hotels, and it's also paid that $1.2 million through sales taxes. None of your property taxes go to pay the Ocean Center.
Thank you. And Jason, final comments on that question?
I do have to agree. I've been to the Ocean Center a couple of times for a couple of events, and Mr. Persis is absolutely correct. It is a wonderful place to go. It's a beautiful building. It really works out. But unfortunately, the cost of operating that thing every year, and I just do want to let everybody know, I'm 1 vote of 7. I can't do it myself. We're going to have a majority vote on our county council just to take care of that particular situation. So for me to sit and say, I'm going to do that, well, I cannot say that. It's going to take the entire council to make that happen. So that's where we have to go.
All right, thank you. And Ted, the next question is to you. Volusia County's total budget this year will be more than $500 million. Do you see any ways to trim that budget?
We're in trouble because we have allowed our primary assets to decline pretty dramatically. The News Journal did a nice 4-stage piece on blight and beauty, and they talked a lot about that. The east side is the real problem, and the west side is carrying the burden of the east side's failures. Those are governmental failures primarily, because the private sector has not been provided the right incentives and the right environment to come in and do what they need to do. So it's a revenue expense proposition. I want to expand the tax base, and that's going to be an economic development move so that we have more revenue coming in and you all can pay less taxes. But then on the expense side, I'll just give you one example. We operate 2 law enforcement agencies within the county. There is no need for that. We have a great sheriff. We have a great sheriff's department. Then we also have a beach patrol, which has provided us sex scandal, huge losses, lawsuits, and unfortunately people who are visiting, like 4-year-old children being seriously hurt. I would take the law enforcement out of the beach patrol and give it to the sheriff, who can operate it for less money, and those savings will be passed on to you.
Thank you. Carl, same question.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Volusia County's total budget this year will be more than $500 million. Do you see any ways to trim that budget?
Well, first of all, the trim notice that we just approved, I say we, but was just approved at today's county council meeting, actually is down another $7 million from last year's budget. Last year's budget was a reduction of $19.4 million from the previous budget. Trimmed $24 million in property taxes from the general fund budget and $32 million from property taxes for the fiscal year that began in October 1st, 2010. Look, the deal is most of the money goes for personnel, and we have been reducing our personnel every single year. We have been cutting back. And also understand that 71% of our budget goes for public safety. 71% for public safety. You don't want to cut in too much into your public safety. So I believe we have made the necessary cuts in the places that have let's say, the least effect on providing the good quality of services for our residents.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Jason, same question to you.
Well, I've been looking at this budget, and there's, let me just start off this whole thing with one serious statement. There is no way, while I am sitting on the county council as your chairman, am I going to allow any council member to even think about cutting the budget to the law enforcement, our fire departments, our ambulance service, or our schools. Those are the sacred four as far as I'm concerned. You have to be protected. Now, where do we need to cut back? Maybe we need to shop around a little bit. We've got an insurance situation here. From what I understand, we are self-insured as a county. So what we need to do is start shopping around. Geico does insurance, and they'll save us 15% or more in 15 minutes. I've got 15 minutes on the phone with Geico.
Thank you. Ted, same question. Back to you.
Right, this is my 1 minute. Yes. Well, here are the facts, and these are irrefutable. We are the third highest taxed county in the state of Florida. We have one of the lowest per capita income. We have some of the lowest wages. We have a county government that has an insatiable appetite for gobbling up activities that are non-core county government functions. Those, just to name a few, are economic development, the operation of the Ocean Center. They've taken over EVAC. They took over the Ponce Inlet Port Authority. They've even talked about the potential of building a hotel on the beach in order to try and save the Ocean Center. These are all non-core county government functions, and I'm going to take the county out of it. We need to turn it over to the private sector in many respects and turn it over to the organizations that are designed with the expertise, such as the CBB, and let them run the Ocean Center.
Thank you. Carl, this next question is to you. A PAC is spending a good deal of money on ads attacking one of your opponents, Ted Doran. One calls Ted a hypocrite. That was a mailer that recently went out, called Ted a hypocrite who has cost the taxpayers millions. Another ad, which has not been made public, but that I've been made aware of, questions Ted's time as chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. Two businesses with associates who are supporting your campaign with donations are responsible for funding those ads. Do you agree with their message, and why or why not?
Well, let me just say, I was first made aware of the ad. We were out of town when that first flyer came out. When we got home Saturday night, I saw the flyer in the mail. I was as surprised as anyone to get it. On Monday, following that Saturday, I became aware when Brown & Brown called me to inform me that they were one of the companies that was involved in funding the ad. And I said, my only comment was, is everything in there true? And they said, it's accurate. And I said, well, and they said, we're not asking your approval. And I said, well, they said, it's our money. We are going to be transparent about it. We're not going to try to hide from it. And that was really it. It was a rather short conversation.
Do you agree with the message in that ad, or did you disagree with it?
I said all I said was if it's accurate, then that's okay with me, if it's accurate. But I said I don't want anything, I said I would think you're not going to say anything that is not accurate. I mean, I put myself in that place. Wouldn't want something said about me that was not accurate. And they said it's accurate.
Thank you. Jason, same question to you.
You know, I like to try to keep everything on the up and up. I try to keep everything stuck to the issues because, you know, I personally don't care if either of these gentlemen have $10 million or $100 million. I'm actually, it really brought a great deal of sadness to me to see that already our political system has stooped to this mudslinging. I don't like the mudslinging. I will not sling the mud because he who slings mud must dig a hole, and I'm not going to dig a hole. So as far as the situation goes, that's the only comment I have on it, and I won't sling mud, and I'm really sorry that it started already.
Thank you. Ted, same question to you.
Gee, I don't know where to begin. It's quite shameful, very shameful. And if Mr. Persis did not know about this, he is really out of touch because I knew about it 4 weeks in advance. We knew that there was a PAC coming. We even were checking constantly with Volusia County and the Supervisor of Elections to find out if it had been formed locally. We were well aware. So if he's saying he didn't know until he got it in the mail, I find that quite incredible. The information was false. The representation of the amount of money that I received from the public sector was overstated by at least 60%. The vast majority of that was private sector money generated by insurance companies. And what they left out when they say, for instance, $4 million, is that I acquired that over 20 years. If you made $50,000 a year, you were a millionaire as a result of that 20-year period of time. Does anybody feel like a millionaire in this room?
Thank you. Carl, the question for final comments from you.
Well, it almost begs the question, then what is the boat, is the boat not named Top Building? I mean, isn't that the name of your boat?
Am I supposed to respond?
I mean, I'm assuming they check that out, and if most of your income comes from, is derived from the public's tax dollars paying your income, and you name your boat Top Billing, I mean, come on. But they said that is the name of his boat, Top Billing.
Is it, Ted, because you asked, is that the name of your boat, I'm going to allow you to respond to that.
Well, of course it's the name of my boat. It's a term of art used in fishing. It's a fishing boat for billfish, and people who fish use Top Billing as part of their name.
Let's go to the next question. All right.
I'm proud to have the boat, and I'm proud to have earned the money legally with government contracts. I am not ashamed of it. I'm very happy, and I stand by everything that I've done. The money that purchased that boat did not come from exclusively government money, but I do government work, so it is a portion of my income.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next question, and it's to you, Jason. And I wanted to ask one sort of direct personal question to you.
Okay.
And it's this. It's that I've checked the News Journal's archives,
Yeah.
and I know that you ran for another office previous to this, but until this race, I didn't find a single article indicating you have any experience or interest in county government. Would that lack of experience be an impediment for a county chair, or a potential strength? Why or why not?
Okay, well, no, actually, I consider it to be a great strength, because number one, I am not part of the situation here. And another reason why because I carry this around with me. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the county charter. This is our guide as to what we do when we sit on the dais. It's 37 pages long. It comes right off the county website. And I've read through this thing on quite a few occasions. I read it almost every day, a little piece of it. If we have a problem, an issue of constitutionality in one of our county issues, or maybe our ordinances, I have another piece of paper. It's right here. It's called the United States Constitution. And it governs everything we do on the county, state, and federal level. Having no basic interest or working in our county government prior to this, no, I think that is my greatest strength, because I get to read this as fresh eyes, looking at it as the regular citizens do, and say, so, this is where we're supposed to go, and this is what we're supposed to do.
Thank you. Ted, same question to you.
Question again? Sorry.
Yeah, it's basically that, the question to Jason was that up until this race, according to our own archives, there weren't any articles indicating his experience or interest in county government. And would that lack of experience be an impediment to a county chair or a potential strength?
So I'm commenting basically on his qualifications. I think every citizen has the right to run for public office, and it's up to the voters to decide whether someone is qualified to fill the seat. I would just point out that whoever becomes the next chairman of the county council is going to be responsible for a great deal of your success or failure financially in life, from a property valuation standpoint and from a taxing standpoint. I personally believe that people should be involved in the community on some level before they attempt to take on a role of that magnitude. I would like to feel that, if Jason were really serious about this, that, I would even assist him and help him if I could, to appoint him to committees to help build a resume, because I am impressed with him. I admire his background in the military for sure, and I think he would be a great public servant at some point.
Carl, same question to you.
I like Jason. I didn't know him at all, and when he first announced that he was going to run, I called him, and we called each other, and we spoke before Memorial Day. I think, Jason, we finally connected at one of the sites, and it's anyone can run for office. Personally, I would never do it, because it's like I didn't run for mayor. I just out of the blue. I ran for the city commission first, and then once I was there for 4 years, then I felt like I had the confidence and the knowledge that I could run for mayor. So I just wouldn't. I guess I just wouldn't do it because I wouldn't think I was ready yet at that time. But I like Jason.
Okay, thank you. And Jason, you have a final comment on that one?
It's true. I never ran for a county office, but you know what? It's about leadership, folks. I was a squad leader in Iraq. My guys came home. Pardon me. When I got back here to the United States, I got elected as the VFW Senior Vice Commander right here in Fort Orange. And when I took post there, our VFW was $160,000 in the hole. We were on the verge of losing our post, a brand new $1 million building. When I saddled up with our commander, I worked with our commander, I worked with our membership. Today, when we left that place and we walked away from that office, we said, thank you very much, smartly saluted. We had over $65,000 in credits into the bank account. That's $65,000 from $160,000 in debt.
Thank you. Ted, the next question is to you. Ted, in one of your own mailings, you suggested a correlation between Carl's support of a February zoning change that allowed manufactured homes in Plantation Oaks and donations to Carl's campaign from developer Maury Hosseini. Mr. Hosseini, though, has stated that he had nothing to do with the Plantation Oaks property. Do you still stand by that mailing?
Well, I think that the level of contributions to Carl Persis's campaign is a serious problem for all of us. Mr. Husseini contributed to him 28 $500 checks through different corporations. 28. Now, I was provided information, yeah, the answer is yes, I stand by it. I was provided information that Mr. Hosseini was involved in that project, and it was from two very reliable sources. I know that there are 3,000 citizens up in Ormond who are very, very upset with Mr. Persis's failure to listen to them and vote appropriately. It was a downgrading of a project from homes to mobile homes, which has undercut our taxes in the property taxes that would have been derived from that area by about $1.4 to $1.6 million. So that money came out of your pocket. And I would certainly not have voted to reduce the use of that property like he did. And we know that Brown & Brown and the Speedway are spending unlimited amounts now to buy this seat. And I hope that you will say Volusia County, especially the chairmanship, is not for sale.
Carl, you have 1 minute for that question.
Well, I'm personally offended that you think my vote's for sale. You know, you have never even held elected office one day in your life. I can't control who contributes to my campaign. I'm proud of everybody that contributes to my campaign. I have Republican support, huge Republican support. I have huge Democrat support. I'm supported by the Sierra Club, and the Volusia Home Builders Association. Have you ever had a candidate supported by the Home Builders Association and the Sierra Club? I'm proud, I am very proud of everyone that is endorsing me, everyone that is contributing to my campaign. And how dare you sit here and say they are buying me? You know nothing, Mr. Doran, nothing about me. I stand on my reputation, and I would not be reelected to office over and over and over again if I wasn't worthy.
Thank you. Jason, question to you.
Yes. Once again, you know, it starts again, and I try to stay away from all of that as much as I can. But I would like to remind everybody that it's more than a vote of 1, it's a vote of 7. So if what happened, it took a majority on the board to do this, not just one person. So like I said, I'm really sorry that all this mudslinging is starting. I don't like it, I won't do it, and I really don't have anything further to comment on that.
Thank you. Ted, you have a final minute on that?
Sure. Well, you know, I mean, that's a cute little stump speech and acting all indignant and everything, but the reality is that let's not insult people's intelligence. Do you think that Brown & Brown and the Speedway are spending $100,000 in addition to all of the $500 checks that they gave him, totaling $100,000? He had $114,000 before I even got in the race. And 28 $500 checks, but they don't want anything for that. So what I did when I started this, because I was so disgusted by it, and I've been so disgusted by watching this happen over here with the old guard money, is I self-imposed a limit of $100 per person. I have not accepted one contribution in excess of $100 from anybody, any corporation, or anything, because I will do the right thing for all of us, not for the few people that have been essentially directing our lives for about 10 to 15 years at least.
Thank you. Carl? And my apologies, forgive me all of you for bringing up these sorts of things, but there are issues that have been in the paper, and so I just feel the need to get them on the table. So let me get a final issue on the table. Carl, an ethics complaint was filed against you because $25,000 you listed as a loan from your wife was above the legal limit. Can you just take some time to just sort of walk everybody through that from your perspective?
Yeah, actually, if I can correct you, Pat.
Sure.
It isn't that it's above the legal limit. The only person that can contribute, can make a loan to a person's campaign is the candidate. So the error was that I listed my wife as loaning me as a candidate $25,000. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to explain it. I loaned myself $25,000. We have a joint money market savings account, like I suspect most folks have. I electronically transferred $25,000 and listed myself as the person that loaned it to myself. And about a month later, I believe it was, I went there and transferred another $25,000 from that same account, electronically transferred, and I put my wife's name as the one that transferred it. Then when I paid myself back, I wrote myself a check back for $35,000, and when I was doing that, I realized, whoops, I only put myself down as 25. I needed to have that as me and not my wife. I amended my report before it was even known that it wasn't the right thing to do. I amended that report because I caught my own error and amended it to show that it wasn't my wife that loaned it to me. It was I that loaned it to myself. It was a joint checking account. It came from the same bank, same account. And there was never really a check drawn. It was an electronic transfer.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the chance.
Sure. Jason, any comments that you have related to that?
As a matter of fact, I think one of your reporters called me and asked me about it. I think it was Mr. Gant over there. And when I heard it, I said, no, I don't know nothing about that. I'm doing what I got to do. You know, I'm trying to cross all my little T's and dot all the I's, make sure everything is straight and rocking and rolling. I really didn't have much to say about it, but I'm sure it was an error. I did notice that it was taken care of. Anything else after that, I really don't have anything to do with it, don't know anything about it.
Thank you. Ted, your comments?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm going to come back to this, but let me say up front, you know, these errors that are listed out as violations that have been reported on Mr. Persis are not, you know, moral problems. I don't think that he, you know, is a criminal or that he's intentionally trying to defraud anybody. But let's list them out. First of all, he does the $25,000 thing with his wife. Everybody knows in the rules you can't do that. Then he starts giving thousands of dollars to various charities without any sort of advertising or other reciprocating thing. Now there's been a second report filed that I've seen where he's collected $600 from LeComp Orthodontics over on the beach side. Every candidate knows you can't accept more than $500, but he accepted $600. It's right on the face of his complaint. Then on top of that, he had a fundraiser at the Speedway. They served drinks, they served food, they also provided him the use of a room that is for rent. And at some point, these issues become more of one of, do you really want somebody like this running a $700 million budget?
Okay. Carl, you have a final minute on that.
It's almost laughable. Okay, if someone gave me $600 instead of $500, usually we do all these things electronically, and usually it pops up and it tells you right away someone that you can't do it, so it just catches you. If in fact that happens, because we've been raising money for over a year, and it's possible someone could have given $300 one time and $300 another time, and we didn't catch it. If that is indeed the case, you just amend that report. It's a real simple thing to do. And as far as the Speedway, I don't know what this is talking. Distribution, it came from 6 different companies, and it's all in. I all have the paperwork. I was down at the elections office today filing my campaign report, and I brought that up. I said I have these 6 papers, and they said, "You're fine. Just put it in." I said, "Okay, good."
Thank you. Perhaps mercifully, I'm not going to ask a question that begins with a first name on this one. Jason, this question is to you. Volusia County has had very little success in recent years recruiting new businesses or industry. There's also rumbling behind the scenes that the county and Team Volusia have not been supportive of each other. What should the county do to improve its economic development efforts?
Well, it boils right down to 3 words: jobs, jobs, and jobs. That's what it takes to build an economy. Now, just recently, I went to Washington, D.C., and I was working with the American Petroleum Institute. We were trying to get some other legislation passed through Congress that would create 560,000 jobs for Americans in the middle of our country. That's all fine and well. After we get this piece of legislation worked through, and congressmen and senators all agreed with us, hey, now I look at these people and said, all right, now I've done this for you. Do this for me. When I become the county chair of Volusia County, keep your phone handy, because I want to bring some of your high-paying jobs out of wherever your companies are. And they make everything from petroleum products to plastics to 8 pens and solar panels. They do all this work, and they're high-paying jobs. I want you to bring them here to Volusia County. We got to get with the county. We got to make sure that we can get these rules and regulations minimized so we can bring these companies here, because that's what makes jobs, is private industry, not your county government.
Thank you. Ted, same question to you.
Well, the business community has been well aware for years that the county is a total failure at economic development. And in fact, that's why they started the Business Development Partnership, which I then spun off into Team Volusia Economic Development Corporation and became its inaugural chair. The budget for the Economic Development Department is $6 million this year, with $944,000 in payroll, and they have a 5-year plan. I have live on my website right here on this iPad the 5-year plan, and Mr. Davis, can you tell me what date that is?
That's June of 2002.
That's right. Live, when you go home tonight, you will find a 5-year plan from the county for economic development dated June of 2002, never having been updated, $944,000 payroll this year alone, $6 million budget, and we are operating on a 5-year plan that is 10 years old. That is failure.
Carl, same question to you.
Yeah, the Volusia Economic Development Department's done a fantastic job. A fantastic job, and where he gets these numbers from is beyond me, but I wish he had his facts right. Let me just give you a couple of examples. Spartan Electronics, right up the road here. A company that is paying high-paying jobs. They were ready to leave the area. 270 jobs. Volusia County Economic Development Department stayed in and stepped in and saved them, and they are still here with those jobs. Another example is Teledyne Electronics. They were ready to move, and Volusia County Economic Development Department kept them here. Another high-paying jobs. In fact, they are expanding and building a $100,000 square foot facility. Another example is right here at DeLand Crossings in SR 44. Senpac is there, a 65,000 square foot facility, 65 people, robotic packaging company. We have Florida State coming in here with their medical school. We have the UCF incubator program. I could go on and on and on about the success of the Volusia County Economic Development Department.
Thank you. Jason, you have the final 1 minute on this one.
And these are great accomplishments. They are wonderful. They have saved jobs. I cannot agree with you more. but we can do more. I've been talking with individuals on this campaign trail who have tried to start businesses here, and they have said the mountain of red tape just to turn the key on a door and move their product in is immense. They have taken jobs that would have created a brand new condo facility right here on our river, and they have taken it to Seminole County. Why? Because the mountain of red tape and the cost to get it done. We've got to relieve our government regulation, our ability for businesses to get in here, to create the jobs, to jumpstart our economy and make our county profitable once again.
Thank you. We have one final question, and it's to you, Ted. And it does start with, it is a Ted question. Ted, fairly or unfairly, you have a reputation in some camps as a bull in a china shop. Your tenure as the chairman of the Halifax Area Advertising Authority, during which the executive director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau was fired, solidified that reputation in the eyes of some. My question is, do you consider yourself a bull in a china shop?
Well, the statement that somebody is a bull in a china shop is an opinion. It is not fact. So let's look at the facts. As chairman of the Daytona Regional Chamber, we had the most successful year in its history, and there was no controversy. As chairman of the Team Volusia Economic Development Corporation, I started it. I went out, I generated $1 million of private sector money commitment, and I pulled every city, east and west, together, united, for the first time in the history of the county, working with one common purpose and one common goal, no controversy. Halifax Area Advertising Authority, I was given 6-5 votes. 5 people stood in the way of correcting the corruption that existed in that organization, and I cleaned it up. Mr. Persis' appointment fought me every step of the way. It was terrible, shambles, but I fixed it, and unfortunately took a few arrows and bullets in the process. But I can tell you this, they have a $6 million budget that affects your lives like you can't imagine. They brand that east side, and they determine what your property taxes are ultimately on some level. And the new CEO, who is world-renowned, driving business here from Germany and Australia, and who is a real professional in convention sales, is going to make your life better, and I accomplished that, along with 5 others.
Thank you. Carl, same question to you.
The bull in the china shop.
Yes.
I don't know. All right. Ted was the chair of the Halifax Chamber. He's the only president, I think, or chair, that after his term of office, you normally serve on the board. You're voted and you serve on the board. Ted's the only one, I believe, that has never served on the board. He was appointed by Tom Leake, but he was never asked after that. He was never voted back on the board. 24 chamber, current, past, and future presidents are endorsed me. They've endorsed me. If you did such a great job, you would have all those chamber presidents supporting you. The HA board, the way you treated and humiliated the executive director that you terminated is just unfathomable to me. As a principal, I've terminated lots of people, but you do it privately and you do it professionally and you leave that person with their dignity. I don't know whether you treat everyone like that or just middle-aged women.
Jason, excuse me, audience. Jason, same question to you.
I don't know, wow. Let me just say this. I've met both of these gentlemen here while on this campaign trail. They are both a couple of fine individuals. Personally, we may differ politically, but personally, I would sit down and have a beer with either one of them, and I'd like to do that after the dust settles. Now, but you know what, being a bull in a china shop, having been in the military and in a major leadership role where your decision relies in a second that quick, whether somebody dies or not, sometimes you gotta be the bull. Sometimes you gotta reach out, grab the bull by the horn and throw it to the ground and say, this is the way it's gonna be, because if I don't do it, I got 7 people that die. And I made those decisions.
Thank you. Ted, you have a final minute on that question.
Well, leadership is not about doing the popular thing at the time, always, but I can tell you, having gone through that process and hired the CEO we have now, I am hard-pressed to find anyone, including Carl Persis, that doesn't think it was a good idea. And there was a private attempt to leave her out, let her out with her dignity. Chairman Frank Bruno met with her and begged her to resign, knowing that she was going to be fired, and she insisted on the public circus. It cannot be done privately. It is a public entity. There are laws that require that it be done publicly if she's going to insist on it. She knew she didn't have the votes. She put us through the process. I treated her with great respect, and I still think she's a fine person, but she was not the person for that job, and she never should have been put in there to begin with. She was not qualified, and she was operating at the direction of people on the outside that was inappropriate.
Thank you. All right, we're now at the point of the debate where candidates have an opportunity to ask questions of their fellow candidates. Here's how it'll work. Each candidate will get up to 30 seconds to ask one question of a fellow candidate in their district. We had spoken earlier, candidates, about possibly having time for 2 questions each, but we only have time for 1. So each will have about up to 30 seconds to ask one question of a fellow candidate. The question is completely up to the candidate asking it, and it's completely up to that candidate to decide who will receive the question. The candidate who receives the question will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer. Then the candidate who asked the original question will have 30 seconds to respond to that answer. So all told, each candidate will have a chance to ask a question of whoever they want to ask. And Jason, you get to ask the first question.
Make me a little nervous with that. All right, can I just throw it up to either one of them that would like to ask that? Or do I have to be specific?
You have to ask one or the other.
All right, I will ask Mr. Doran. The Sunrail, with the funding of the program, has been reduced by 15% in 2011 due to the county's financial obligations. And from 2012 to 2016, the county financial committee will have to increase the cost of that from $8.5 to $12 million. What would you propose to do to try to keep this down on budget, where the American citizens of Volusia County are not going to be held liable for the Sunrail?
Well, good question. I don't, the Sunrail isn't something that, again, that's kind of a stretch. The way I view the Sunrail is this. We don't have the foundation to support this very fancy roof. The Sunrail is an extreme extravagance. It is a good thing, and it is something that we need to be a player in Central Florida. But unfortunately, our county government did not provide the basis, the foundation, the house of the house to prepare to hold up this big roof. And so now we've got to scramble to try and repair the underneath of the house in order to prop up this expensive roof. And we're going to have to obviously find the money. Part of it can be generated through a TOD, which is a transportation-oriented development, which will be formed at the base of the DeBerry departure and arrival. And that will generate certainly money that will go into the general revenue fund that can help to support the expenses of it. If we're going to have this, it's going to have to extend past DeBerry, because the county will not benefit from it unless it goes all the way to Daytona. And the reason it would benefit from it there is because we could drive tremendous amount of business from Disney in terms of tourism all the way to the beach.
Thank you. And Jason, you have 30 seconds to respond to that answer.
Well, I really didn't think of an answer for it. I thought it was just a question. No, actually, when the Sunrail came into play, I actually did write to our county council, and I said, look, guys, and I wrote a letter to each one of them. Of course, I had to email it to them because the debate was going on. I couldn't get there. I wanted to make sure they had it. I mailed it to the governor. I mailed it to our state representatives and our federal representatives and said, there's got to be a better place to put this thing than in the most extremist part of our county. I said, for me to ride it, it's going to cost me more money and time than to just hop on this train, on my car or my motorcycle and go to this thing. And I know that. Can I get 1 second more?
Go ahead.
Okay. I did propose an alternate route that would have helped every part of East Volusia County and connect it to the west part of Volusia County, and then continue down. Of course, my suggestion was rejected.
Thank you. Ted, you get the next question.
I would ask the question of Mr. Persis. For about, well, for I don't know how many years, the fire rescue paramedics and the firefighters generally have been pleading with the county to allow municipal paramedics to transport people as a first responder to a hospital under circumstances where it was needed. In 2010, because evac was 32 minutes away, a woman actually died at the feet of paramedics and an ambulance owned by the city of Edgewater. In 2011, the same circumstances arose, and the fire chief recognizing, I'm getting to it, well, we have to lay the groundwork. The fire chief recognizing that the person in 2011 was going to die as well, because evac was 30 minutes away, took it upon himself to actually transport the woman to a hospital illegally because the Edgewater ambulance was not licensed, and saved her life.
I need you to get to the question.
Here's the question. The question simply is this. The county's response to the fire chief's transport of this woman and saving her life was to fine him, suspend him, and the county wrote a letter saying that the city had engaged in a provocative action against the county. Why did you sit there and allow the county to do this to a city under these circumstances?
Okay, we finally got to the question.
Yes.
It was a good speech.
Why?
It was a good speech. Because the chief medical doctor of the county said his license was at risk, and they have to follow certain protocols when you transport somebody. They have to have a certain type of vehicle that meets the criteria. And he felt like they should not have done it, and he was very upset by it because he felt like his medical license was on the line. And that's why he did it. That's one of those issues, as I said before, that some of the people at that high level, as I mentioned it in parallel to what the sheriff does, if the sheriff felt like he did something and he was criticized, or we got some comment about it, we don't interfere with the sheriff, and we don't interfere with our chief medical doctor.
Thank you. Ted, you have 30 seconds.
Well, let me get this straight then. We allowed a woman to die in 2010 because a medical doctor was worried about his license. And in 2011, when he was again worried about his medical license and a woman's life was saved. Carl Persis rested on the idea that the doctor's license was more important and sat by while the county berated this city, fined the fire chief, suspended him, and wrote a letter saying it was a provocative action. I understand.
Okay. Ted, because in the first part of your question you went over the time.
Here's the deal. That same city that Mr. Doran is referring to, right now, they are being allowed to transport. You know, we are beyond it. EVAC, we took over EVAC in October 1st of 2011. The incidents you're talking about was prior to the county taking over the EVAC operation. We reached out to the city of Edgewater and asked them if they want to be one of the first cities to participate in the pilot program to transport their own citizens, and they are. And they are starting in 1st of August, as well as Ponce Inlet. Those are our two cities. So we are out, actually, we almost agree on this thing. It is going to be better in the future. I'm just saying, I'm not to blame for what happened in the past.
Thank you.
All of which occurred since I'm a candidate and have been talking about this issue.
All right, folks, let's go to the final question. And Carl, you have the final question.
Okay. I'm going to ask it, guess what? I'm going to ask it to Ted. 2 flyers from your campaign. My wife got one, named Susan, where you list your top 3 issues: jobs, public education, and leadership. Cheryl got one, your top 3 issues: downsize, privatize, county control, property taxes, wages. So you don't have top 3 issues, you have top 6 issues, I guess, but there's 3 different ones depending on your name, I guess, or something. I don't know. But my question is, let's just talk about public education, since that's something that you're familiar with and I am. Do you support the school board's proposal to raise property taxes that's going to be on the ballot this November, I believe? Do you support that initiative?
That's not a decision for a county council candidate, so I'm not interested in engaging in discussions. You could take that question and talk about whether I would support invading Syria. It's irrelevant to why we're here. But I will say this, that while Mr. Persis sat on the county council, we sent out $97,464,000 over the last 10 years of our tax money to counties like Seminole, Miami, and the like, because our wages are so low here, because there's a formula in Tallahassee that requires that when we send up our tax money, we get less back because our wages are so low. And so I want to work to increase those wages so that we won't lose $97,464,000 of our tax money to Miami, Broward, and Seminole County. And that is something that the county council absolutely can be involved in and should have already been working on for the last 10 years.
Thank you. Carl, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Well, first of all, sure, I'm all for jobs, but you're referring to the district cost differential, which is a state formula that you and I are both against, and it has nothing to do with the Volusia County Council. So let's get that straight. I just wish you would have answered my question, which was, are you in public education is one of your top 3 issues, or one of your top 6 issues, depending on what your name is. But you didn't just say you're in favor of it or you're not. I mean, public education is on your card.
Yeah, and it's on there, and it says $97.4 million of your property taxes went to Miami. And it is absolutely a county issue because the wages that we generate are the variable in the formula that determine whether that money leaves the county.
Okay, Carl, I'm going to give you the final word on that, and then we're moving on.
Let's just move on.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, Time flies when you're having fun. We've reached the point in which each candidate will have 2 minutes to get a closing statement. The closing statements will be given in the following order. Since Carl, you began the questions, and Jason, since you had the first question, Ted, you have the first closing statement. And you're welcome to stand if you'd like to make your closing statement.
I'm fine. Well, look, we live in a great place. We have natural resources and geography that anybody in the country would die to have in terms of their quality of life and their ability to promote their communities. But the contrast between the candidates could not be more stark, and the stakes could not be higher going forward. Looking backwards, what do we have? We're the third highest taxed county in the state of Florida. We have some of the lowest wages. We are shipping all of our $97 million of our property taxes out of the county to educate other kids' children. We are in decline. Our beachside, in some places, looks like a third world country. We are not united between East and West, except for the fact that Team Volusia Economic Development Corporation has every major city involved in it. We have no example of where we all came together. Now, the question is very simple. You have me, who wants to passionately pursue a change of direction that will bring jobs here, that will truly reform our community, and I will lead us to a place that we've never seen before, unlike other counties. Or you can stick with what we have had in the past, which is what we will have in the future. It's really that simple, and I would ask for your vote on August 14th.
Thank you. Carl, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody so much for taking time to be here this evening. I've lived here for 55 years. I love this county. You know, I love it. I was a public educator for 35 years. I was a principal for 28 years. I love children. I love helping their parents. I love helping their grandparents. My whole life has been public service. And I only want to get into public service because I want to help people. That's what I'm about. I want to help people. And that's how I got into running for elected office, because people came to me and said, Carl, you're so good, you're so outgoing, you're so upbeat, you're so positive, why don't you do that? And so I did, and now here I am. And I'm honored. I can't tell you enough how honored I am to serve the public, to gain your trust, to have you elect me over and over again. That just humbles me. And so to get to this point now, and to be even considered now to be the county chair, I just can't tell you how excited I am. I've been planning this since 2007 to be the county chair. I've been watching, I've been learning, I have been just studying it, and I realize it's going to take a full-time commitment from me. So I retired from the school system, and then my last day was November 30th of 2011. So since that time, I've been full-time, just preparing myself for this job. I can't tell you how much it just means to me to represent you, and how much it's going to mean to me to be your voice, to be your face of Volusia County. I'm excited, I'm enthusiastic, I'm experienced, I'm prepared, and I'm ready to be your county chair.
Thank you, Carl. Just hang on for 1 second. Jason, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, last night, and I have to clarify this, just because Mr. Doran here said, I've never worked in county government. You're right, he was never elected to county government, but he has been on the HA board, which is a tax authority. He's been on the ECO board. He has been on these other boards, which are taxing authorities. Yes, that's part of government. My other competitor over there, Mr. Persis, he has been in our county government for 8 years, except for the past few months where he had to retire, of course. But he's been there for 8 years. Folks, electing the same people to do the same job, do you think that's a little odd? Are we going to get the same kind of results? We have people here that I'm running against that aren't in office, that aren't working with our government. If we expect something different, I don't see it happening. I bring a fresh perspective to this office. I've been a leader, led troops, managed companies. I worked with Bright House and helped manage their Bright House network systems here. I owned my own business. I know what it's like to write a paycheck out for somebody, and I know how much you have to pay in taxes. So I've done these things. I have been trained by the best trainers in the world to be a leader, the U.S. Army. I hope on April 14th, sorry, April, I'm going to April. Let's do this in August. I hope on August 14th, you guys look at that ballot and you say, you know what? This man has the leadership skills, and you elect me as your Volusia County Chairman.
Thank you. That concludes tonight's debate. Before everyone gets up, though, I want to thank again Stetson University for their great work and for their help in allowing us to use Stetson Hall for this this debate. And finally, I want to give a final hand to the candidates for a really spirited debate. Thank you very much.